Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm going to go over how I like to grow green beans. Let's get into it. I like to grow my green beans in raised beds. This one is about 3 feet by 6 feet, and this would be plenty of green beans for our family to enjoy all summer. I like raised beds because they allow better soil drainage and then also protects the bean plants from things like rabbits that go across the ground. Having them up a couple feet really protects them from getting eaten. Into the soil here, I've added a lot of compost and then perlite. It's the small white chunks that you'll find in potting mixes. Really helps keep the soil fluffy all year round. And then again allows for that good water flow through the raised bed. If it gets really compacted, the water will just kind of settle on top instead of draining through like it should. Since beans are legumes, they're related to sugar snap peas too. They don't require fertilizer, especially nitrogen. They can fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere with a relationship with the bacteria that lives in the soil. So if you fertilize your beans with a really high nitrogen content, they'll grow a lot of leaves and they'll be very pretty plants, but they won't produce as many green beans as you would like. In the middle of May here in Maryland, it's after Mother's Day now. Now is the perfect time to plant green beans. Green beans need warm temperatures. They cannot tolerate frosts. So make sure your nighttime temperatures are well above 50 degrees before you start planting your green beans. When choosing what variety of green bean you want, just read the general descriptions and try to find something that matches what you're looking for. I've yet to find a variety of green beans that I don't like. Now, let me show you how I plant them. Although my green bean package here says to plant them in rows 18 to 30 inches apart, we don't need that if you're planting into a raised bed. That's to allow for space to walk in between the rows of green beans, but here in a raised bed, they say to plant the seedlings 6 inches apart. We can do that in both directions. This really will maximize yield and make things a little easier. Since I'm not going to be planting a ton of green beans today, to make it easier, I'm just going to go get a pair of gloves and use my hands to plant the seeds. An important thing when picking out varieties of green beans is that there are two main types, pole beans and bush beans. Bush beans I love them because they're so easy to pick and so easy to grow. They get to a height of maybe 1 or 2 feet at most. They don't need a trellis, they don't really need to be pruned, and they give a lot of green beans over the course of the year. Pole beans, they might produce more beans per plant, but they require a lot more work. You'll need a trellis for them, you'll need to redirect them if they're trying to get tangled up, and for me, they're not really worth it. So green bean seeds need to be planted deep. Since the seed itself is the bean in the green bean, things like to eat them. Squirrels and chipmunks are the two most likely culprits. So if you plant them about 1 inch down, probably about as long as your finger, that's a good rule of thumb to kind of keep them from being dug up by the chipmunks and squirrels. But if you do have problems, you can cover them with a floating row cover, just a thin white sheet of fabric, and that will keep any squirrel or chipmunk from being able to dig them up. So I'm just going to go through here and about 6-inch intervals this way and 6-inch intervals this way. I'm just going to plant 1 green bean seed per hole. These seeds are pretty fresh, so I'm confident that they'll germinate. But if you have seeds that are older, you might want to put 2 per planting hole, just in case one doesn't come up. Now that you have your green beans planted, just cover them up with a little bit of soil and they'll be up in about a week or so. See you then.